Dorothy Malone as Constance Mackenzie. Ed Nelson as Michael Rossi. Mia Farrow as Allison Mackenzie. Ryan O'Neill as Rodney Harrington. Barbara Parkins as Betty Anderson. Tim O'Connor as Elliot Carson. Christopher Connolly as Norman Harrington.
Leslie Harrington has come to Boston on an urgent mission. He has come to ask a favor of a man who has every reason to help him. And every reason to hate him.
Mr. Harrington, see Mr. Peyton.
Yes. Mr. Harrington, see Mr. Peyton, please. That door, please.
Come in.
Hello, Mrs. Cord.
Mr. Harrington.
It's been a long time since we've seen each other.
Yes, it has. Not since Catherine's funeral. What may I do for you, Mr. Harrington?
It's important that I talk with Mr. Peyton.
Well, Mr. Peyton never sees anyone without an appointment.
It's necessary that I see him.
Well, then, may I suggest that you leave a number where you could be reached?
Be kind enough to tell him I'm here.
I'm sorry. My instructions are not to disturb him. Now, if you'd like to leave a number.
Still the protectress, aren't you?
Yes or no, Mr. Harrington?
All else alters and changes with time, but Mrs. Hannah Cord remains the one fixed object. How long is it? How many years you've been so jealously guarding his gates?
You know Mr. Peyton is a very sick man.
Even when he was healthy, you stood between him and the outside world. Even his own daughter had trouble seeing him.
Phone me tomorrow and we'll see what can be done.
Not tomorrow. Now.
Call me tomorrow.
You'll leave me no alternative but to walk in unannounced.
That is absolutely out of the question.
Tell him, Mrs. Cord. Tell him it's in regard to his grandson.
I'm sorry, Mr. Peyton. I told him that you weren't to be disturbed.
Leave us alone.
I suppose you think I look foolish, ridiculous to come to you, but I don't care how I look anymore. The only thing I care about now is getting Rodney out of jail.
I never realized what a fumbling, pathetically inept person you are, Leslie. I never should have listened to Catherine. I never should have allowed her to marry you.
Don't punish Rodney for something you feel I did to your daughter. Don't make him sit in a jail cell. He's been punished enough for something he didn't do.
You destroyed my daughter. You destroyed her memory, too.
Mr. Peyton, we've got to have the money for Rodney's bail.
You must have committed the murder you gave Catherine credit for. Credit after she was long dead.
I loved Catherine. I protected her and her memory as long as I could. I can't erase the truth of what she did. I can't bring her back for you.
your son. Or Herring.
What can I do? I can't change anything. I can't take your place in that wheelchair.
You're vile and corrupt.
Rodney loved his mother. She loved him. Please help Rodney.
I never should have made you manager of my mill. Get out. Get out.
I told Kim to have breakfast with her this morning. I thought it would take Mrs. Charnock's mind off things.
Do you think Kim realizes that woman's the mother of the boy she saw die?
I don't know. I've been afraid to ask.
We're going to have to.
Oh, David, there have been so many half-do's lately.
Now.
Well, when are they going to stop?
Well, there may be one more, Doris. I should have told you this last night.
What?
Yesterday, I went to see Ted Dowell. I asked him for a reallocation of funds so I can get started on my plan to reorganize the mill. When I told him that Peyton hadn't seen the report, he informed me that he couldn't authorize any funds, period, exclamation point. So I gave him an ultimatum. I'm to get the go-ahead from Martin Peyton or I bow out. Now, if he turns me down, we'll be leaving Peyton Place.
On top of everything else, you deliberately challenged Martin Peyton. Why? Why? Is it really all too much for you? Do you really want out?
No, Doris, I just want to do things my way. I want to run the mill my way. I want to succeed my way. I don't want to prove anything to you or Martin Peyton or anyone else. I just want to be the kind of man I want to be. The kind of man I thought you wanted me to be. I was in town. I thought I'd stop by. You busy?
Come in.
I wanted to tell you that we're sorry about Allison.
Thank you.
Well, is there any improvement in her condition?
No.
It hasn't?
It's just that there's no change.
How's your wife?
Well, Allison was her whole life for so long, you know.
We've had our differences, but I want you to know how concerned we really are. Your daughter has meant a lot to us. She helped us over a very difficult period with Kim. And she understands responsibility. When she knew that she was going to work with Kim, she prepared thoroughly. She must have read half a dozen books on the problems of the deaf. That's a rare quality.
Perhaps you'd be interested in these, wouldn't you? She used to write a column for Matt Swain. She called it The Observer.
Very appropriate. Peach bloom, warm sand, red leaves, kindling, crackling, And so soon the year is through. I used to know someone who felt like this at 17. She looked very much like Allison. Maybe you sensed my very special feeling for Allison.
We live and we learn, don't we?
I'm afraid we do.
Well, I was trying to find another piece that Allison wrote. She wrote it last summer sometime. I haven't... Wait a minute, here it is. Yes. Have you ever been down to the seawall in Frenchman's Cove?
No, I'm afraid I don't have time to explore the beach.
Well, it's one of the earliest landmarks in the area, built by the Massachusetts Bay Company sometime in the early 1600s. Well, Allison wrote... Well, here, you... Listen to this. Hail wall. You've seen it all. The ebb and flow of days. Buttressed up, rooted deep. You know man and his ways. So be my compass. Tell my course. Will I anchor here forever, or will I finally sail forth? And what will be the weather? What mate will chart the seas with me, or harbor in my hand? Or will I tack and steer alone until I sight my land? Shall I be dashed upon the rocks? With broken masts, battered beams? Are people ever really spared except in dreams? Well, I'd like to be your oracle, forecast the greatest good. But you'll need to know how to run with the sun. And my legs are rock and wood. I feel no pain when I wrestle the storm or suffer the slap of the sea. And so I'm bereft of what pain can teach. Though I stand through eternity, you must look beyond this wall, my friend. Look to those things that are free. Look to the ships that conquer the deep. Look to the moving sea. In that peculiar dialogue, the wall made clear my lot. A human being is forced to choose. A monument is not.
It's very beautiful.
Yeah. A little while ago, I spent some time with the man that found Allison. Probably the last person that saw her before she was hit. He said he saw her out by that sea wall, staring out into the ocean. So I remembered this poem, and I thought I'd use it as a preface to an open letter I'm preparing. I'd like your opinion on it.
You mean as a loyal opponent of your editorial policy?
Aren't those the only people whose criticism you can trust?